history, Freedom to Choose Story Slam. And if you are a volunteer, you often know that people ask you, well, what's that all about? And tonight we're going to hear some stories that talks about what it's all about, why we're here together, why we do the work that we do. I want to acknowledge my co-facilitator, co-host, prison wife, Karen Peterson, executive director, part-time executive director, but she does full-time hours, believe me. And also Susan Sizer is our illustrious trio master. She's our tech support. So she will be handling any glitches. Want to say welcome to all of the first timers here. I do see some familiar faces. I even see one of my co-active coaching pals, Kim. Welcome, everyone. So we also have Bonnie and David, the founders, who will be delivering a message in a moment. They're waving over there. And you are all muted, but you can, as Susan said, unmute yourself. So welcome to Freedom to Choose Story Slam. We are going to introduce our tellers in a moment. And just a reminder that we are continuing to learn with this new format. And we appreciate your flexibility. And to those of you who know our mantra, please join with me as we affirm that we are so flexible. So that being said, this Story Slam is a part of our Planting Seeds of Freedom campaign, and we'll tell you a little bit more about that in just a moment. But we like to start our events with a centering process, just to bring us all together in loving intention. And if you're comfortable with me, we will ask for the assistance of Spirit, God, higher power. You can do that in any way that's comfortable for you, the one who goes by many names, your higher self, whatever, floats your boat, okay? And if you would join with me as we just take a moment to turn within and we just breathe. We draw in this breath from the source of all life, that one who has many names and who responds to them all. And instantly, as we draw in this breath, there is a conscious contact, a connection to this presence, this power, this love, this amazing light. And it's from this place that I send blessings of gratitude to all who are with us, to those who are with us in spirit only, knowing that all are in their right and proper place. We just name this time together good and very good, knowing that all transpires with ease and grace, and that the story, the sacred story of freedom to choose, comes forth in a wonder-filled, blessing-filled way. I'm grateful for everyone present, grateful for all that transpires here, and so it is. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And now I'd like to introduce to you the original storytellers, the ones who weaved the story of freedom to choose. And they learned each chapter as they were going along, and we're still learning. But our founders, Bonnie and David, and they've got a story to tell tonight. Bonnie and David, would you like to unmute yourselves?
Can I ask Bonnie a question real fast?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Am I recording in cloud or to my computer? Is Bonnie there?
Yeah, they need to be unmuted. I think if you go down to the bottom and try to unmute yourself, Bonnie won't let you.
No.
Better? Okay. Let me find her. Okay. Should be able to now.
Okay, yes.
And so in conclusion, we hope you enjoyed our remarks.
And scene.
Susan, record to cloud. That'll make it easier for Stephanie.
Okay.
But it's not wrong. If you record it to your computer, you can go with that.
Yeah,
No, it's recording to cloud.
perfect.
So, okay. I'm muting myself now.
All right, everyone. We're so glad to be here with you. And special thanks to Michael Lattimore, who is the one who inspired this first Story Slam. We're so excited ourselves to hear everyone's stories of freedom. And for those of you who are new to our community, we welcome you. Our mission is providing transformative education, compassionate experiential education to those incarcerated and impacted by incarceration. And of course, that's all of us, right?
Yeah. So we've been working, we started working in California state prisons doing this type of work in 2004. And right now we're offering workshops and weekly classes in prisons and the community. With our latest grant, we have in-person programs at 6 prisons in California, two of the programs are specifically designed for newly incarcerated young men and their mentors. So it's we've been, Freedom to Choose has been recognized as an innovative and effective way to help people, which helps us get money from the state to help even more people. So.
And you might have heard us mentioning that a lot of us have had a lot of fun together in prison. It's kind of a strange sentence, right? But it's true for those of us who do this work. We take large teams of trained volunteers. So we'll have more information for you if you're kind of like, I wonder what those people do in prison. It's in addition to having a lot of fun, we transform our own lives as we assist others. So it's a float the whole boat kind of experience, I like to say.
And the name, it comes from the work of Viktor Frankl, who survived the Nazi concentration camp experience when many did not. And he talked about one of the last and most essential of human freedoms, which is the ability to choose one's attitude regardless of circumstances. So for us, that means the inner freedom to make different choices about how we look at things, feel about things, and ultimately what actions we take. Those are all to us very big freedoms. And I do want to mention that Freedom to Choose is a 501c3, which is a tax-exempt public charity.
So we're glad you're here.
And
grateful to be with you.
And looking forward to hearing all the stories.
Thank you, Bonnie and David. So Michael, thanks for introducing me. Once again, my name is Karen Peterson, and I'm the executive director for the Freedom to Choose project. I've been volunteering, I started around 2008. And from the very first time I went into the prison, I had this weird sense of homecoming. I can't even explain it, but it's really become such an important part of my life. So I'm so grateful to be here with all of you tonight. So we have this campaign going on right now, our year-end fundraising, which is called Planting Seeds of Freedom. And we kind of have an interesting story about what happened in the midst of COVID, because as you can imagine, all of the prisons, in an effort to try to protect incarcerated folks, shut down all programming, all visitation, even like access to higher education. All of the programming got shut down. So our programming is, of course, in person. So it meant that we could no longer go inside the prison. But we knew how important it was, and we wanted to continue to support incarcerated folks. So we very quickly pivoted and started offering what they call in-cell programming, which is really self-study materials, so that those folks that are interested in continuing to do their healing and growing work would still have access to tools that would allow them to deepen their skill sets, the Freedom to Choose skill sets. So we actually have offered thus far 2 different 33-day challenges to incarcerated folks. First, starting out in at the time, 5 California prisons that we support. But what happened was all of a sudden we started getting these requests from prisons all over the state, from folks that never had even attended our workshops, just by word of mouth, that wanted to participate in the program. So we quickly went from 5 prisons to supporting or sending out packets to 36 of the 39 prisons in the state of California. So what that demonstrated to us was just how hungry folks are to have materials to continue on their path to rehabilitation, on their path to healing and growing. So this whole fundraising effort, this campaign is about really being able to expand our footprint and to be able to really not only develop the curriculum, but also provide the infrastructure to be able to support really solid in-cell programming or self-study programming. And our vision now has really expanded in a way that I don't even think that we really knew could happen so quickly, in that, you know, there's no reason why we can't expand into other states and even expand globally. So it's really an exciting time, but of course we need money to do that. So that's what this campaign is all about. And there's a whole bunch of ways you can get involved in it. Our intention with the Story Slam is we really want to support people's creative expression. So our intention is to actually have these every couple of months. So those of you that might be interested in sharing your own story, on the website, there's actually a link to where you can register to share your story. We're thinking it's probably, the next one's probably going to be at the beginning of February. So you'll all be invited to that. So once again, welcome tonight. We're so happy to have you all here. And I think, Michael, you're going to tell us a little bit about the power of story now. And we're going to go ahead and get going.
There we go. I'm unmuted. Indeed, indeed. And so the story of Freedom to Choose is very diverse. You know, oftentimes after a weekend volunteering, people would ask me, so how was it? What happened? And my mouth would open, but no words would come out. I just could not process, you know, the magnitude of what I had just experienced. But over the years, I started volunteering in 2009. And over the years, these stories have begun to just kind of coalesce. There are certain portraits that are just frozen in time that have actually changed my life. And so tonight we're going to be hearing some of those stories. And I would also like to suggest that we are going to be hearing the one story in the room, because all of us will be able to identify with each of the stories that we hear tonight. You know, like we all have a piece of each other's puzzle. So tonight is a celebration and an acknowledgement that the work that we do, it generates a special quality of light, so that anybody who hears about it, you know, immediately perks up and says, what is that? I'm curious, you know. I was in Newfoundland over the summer last year, and the correctional facility up there was asking about, well, what do you have? Could you send us anything? And of course, before the coronation, you know, we didn't have anything, but now, as a result of this, we have something that we can share with the world. So we're going to hear from our tellers tonight. I'm going to introduce them and have them just wave. Brenda Edelman is in the house. She's waving over there. We've got Benito Gutierrez, Benny, and Michael McCarty, my Chicago brother. Have mouth, will talk. And Angela Bell, beloved Ashkenazi grandmother. Angela. And Michael Lattimore. Hey, that's me. Yeah, I got a story to tell.
Oh, you know what? Donna Call too.
Oh, Donna Call.
Yeah, Donna Call also.
There's Donna. Hey.
That's right. That's right.
Cool.
Great. So when right before they tell their story, we'll give you a little bit of a bio, a little bit of the lowdown on each of the storytellers for the evening. But before we do that, I just wanted to go over a couple of things. We'd really like you all, when the storytellers start, to turn your cameras on, because it just feels like that would be most respectful and most engaging. So if you would please do that. You know, you're all muted. And Susan, tell me, so can they not unmute themselves, or can they unmute themselves? You're muted, Susan. Can you unmute yourself, Susan?
I have it set so everyone should be able to unmute themselves. But I don't think Michael was able to unmute yourself. Were you, Michael?
No, I wasn't.
So I have it set that everybody should be able to allow.
Well, I'm wondering if it would be better to unmute everybody and have them mute themselves. because that way they'll have control. Does that make more sense?
Mm,
Got a couple
yeah,
nodding heads. So
yeah.
why don't we just unmute everybody, and then we're going to ask you all to mute yourself.
Okay,
That way you'll have control, and we all like control. How's that sound?
perfect. I'm gonna go through, and it's gonna tell me to ask everybody to unmute. So I have to do it one at a time. So when I say ask, unmute you, unmute yourself. Okay,
Okay, so you have your work cut out for you.
I'm working on it right now.
So just remember to mute yourself when you get that option. You all know we're recording the evening. And you know, our whole thing is about having fun and supporting the storytellers. So please feel free to chat them up, you know, and give them their comments. And once again, we'll be unmuting so that we can cheer them at their end of their stories. So the most important guideline for the evening is to have fun. Okay, can everybody agree to that one?
Me.
Yeah, okay, cool, we're good then.
Hey,
So we're
Susan,
gonna get started. What's
So-
that?
Can I ask Susan one technical question? Are you seeing the whole speaker when you're videotaping, when you're recording?
Yes, I have it on speaker view.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's doing weird stuff. It's not letting me pin. So, but it is on speaker view.
But we are so flexible,
Mhm.
right? We're
Mhm.
learning as we go here. It's all good. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Brenda Edelman is our first speaker of the evening. We're very honored to have her here tonight. She actually does a one-woman show called My Brooklyn Hamlet. And the girl has been all over. She's been from London to New York to LA, just all over the place. So we got a little bit of a celebrity in our mix here tonight. So she's also performed the show for at-risk youth, for incarcerated women, domestic violence coalitions. She's also been a recipient of the Hero of Forgiveness Award from the Hawaii International Forgiveness Project. And her story tonight is based on her actual life. She teaches storytelling and the power of forgiveness. And her main website is forgivenessandfreedom.com. I'm assuming. So tonight she's going to perform an excerpt from her one-woman show. So with that, Brenda, you want to go ahead and kick us off? She's going to need to be unmuted, Susan.
Are you waiting?
Can she unmute herself?
Mhm.
Yeah, this is
What I found, Brenda, when I went down to the bottom of the screen, I could unmute myself, but I couldn't do it in the corner. There you go, Brenda.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we gotcha.
Okay, great.
Welcome, Brenda.
Thank you. In a bygone era, before big box chain stores took over, a savvy businessman, my father, was able to build an empire in automobile parts. He was an alpha male Guido, kind of like Joe Pesci from the film My Cousin Vinny, with a little Tony Soprano thrown in. Only Jewish. In a world filled with mind-numbing pedestrian aspirations, my mother dared to be her bohemian artist self. She was a sultry blend of the movie star Anne Margaret, some fierce and wacky Lady Gaga. She took me traveling with her all over the world and read Shakespeare to me when I was 3 years old as a bedtime story. Tonight, my favorite, to be or not to be, that is the question. Whether it is nobler night, sweet princess, I love you to eensy beensy teensy weensy little pieces. Remember this above all else, to thine own self be true. This is my daughter Brenda's favorite painting of me. In 1973, my husband Jerry commissioned an artist friend of mine to paint it for $400. It was exciting. I sat for 6 Saturdays in a row. Jerry, he's got these arms. I feel safe when I'm inside them. He looks like Marlon Brando. Tough guy. But he's got a tender side too. I've seen it at least twice. He knows how to provide for us, but he works all the time. So on the weekends, I escape into Manhattan with the kids in the back seat of Jerry's fire engine red Cadillac. I speed down the West Side Highway in what I lovingly refer to as my pimp mobile. We go to museums and galleries and Broadway shows like Carol Channing singing, "And diamonds are a girl's best friend." You gotta love her. Once, after seeing Frank Langella as Dracula on Broadway, I was inspired. When I got home, I dressed my son, my daughter, and myself up as bats to welcome Jerry home to Transylvania. That turned him on, but what didn't? I found out shortly after I finished posing for this portrait that while I was posing in this position, Jerry was across the neighborhood in a position of his own with another woman whom he left to me for. But he came back 93 days later, begging on his hands and knees. "Bobby, there will never be another woman. I want to help make your dreams come true." Okay. So now I do my art full time and I travel. That Bobby, a green-eyed beauty, beautiful. The first time I saw her, she comes into my auto body parts store and her body parts, boom, boom, knocked me out. I couldn't talk. Edelman's is an institution on the corner of Coney Island Avenue and Avenue L, opened by my parents in 1938. Started working there when I was 13, built it from that small corner store to the car parts heaven that it is today. Added a 10,000 square foot warehouse, tire and lube shop, and an 8-lift service garage. So she comes in, she got a body that could stop a truck, and she needed me. My single days were numbered. When she comes in to pick up the Cadillac with Brenda, my little girl, my whole face lights up. She's my Brenda, my great defender. She wear 2 peas in a pod, same dazzling blue eyes, straight nose, long fingers. She's a little me without the Cuban cigar. My parents were total opposites. It was like growing up in the same household with a gorilla and a peacock, and I'm a pretty good mix of the two. I come home from high school. My mom would be in her darkroom in our basement developing photographs from her travels, and there'd be a tuna fish sandwich waiting for me on the kitchen table. One day, she wasn't there and it wasn't there. "Ma, where are you? What are you doing in my room?" "Mom, no, I'm not going anywhere until you tell me what's wrong." "Someone called me from your father's store today and told me he got a silencer for his gun. He's gonna kill me." "Ma, you gotta go talk to Daddy." So I took on my new role as my mother's great protector. I marched down those stairs. "Dad, did you get a silencer for your gun today?" "No." "Well, Mommy says that you did." "That's crazy. I love her hair on her beautiful head." "Well, if anything ever happens to her, I'm gonna know it was because of you." "Crazy, freaking crazy. Barbara, come down here and give the king of this castle a freaking kiss." And she did. And I believe Dad. I wish I hadn't. 15 years later, I fell in love and moved to California. 10 months later, I got a call. My mother was dead. The next morning, I went to New York and went directly to see the police who were waiting for me. "Thank you for coming, Miss Edelman. I'm Detective Rock. I know it's been a very long day for you. Your father won't talk to us. It seems he had a lawyer with him before we even got to your house and discovered your mother. And this looks bad for him, and we know he's a good guy. Who doesn't know Jerry Edelman from Edelman's Auto? The cops know him from the neighborhood. By the way, your mother died from a gunshot wound, and we have reason to believe it wasn't a suicide." I went to see my father. "Dad, what happened?" "Your mother and I, we were fighting for days. You know how she is. Finally, I went upstairs to go to sleep. The next thing I know, she's on top of me with the gun in the dark. I don't know who pulled the trigger. Where'd she get the gun, Dad? Come upstairs with it loaded. The police said you didn't call them for 8 hours. Where were you? I don't know. I don't remember anything that. Point blank range in the head, and you claim it was an accident? I wish that I could shoot you in your head so I could believe that you really don't remember. I hate you, is what I wanted to say, but I couldn't because I loved him with all of my heart. I couldn't bear losing both of my parents in one night. Within a month, he moved in with my aunt, my mother's sister. 2 months later, he invited me to their upcoming wedding. 1 year later, he went before a judge to be sentenced on a plea bargain because the gun, his murder weapon, the gun that I learned to shoot on, was never found. He never told us what happened, but the plea bargain said that he caused our mother's death by recklessly causing his pistol to discharge directly into her head. I pleaded for him to tell me what happened so I could have closure, but he wouldn't tell me. One night, looking out my 16th floor window, I fantasized about escaping the tyranny of my mind and my memories, stepping out into the abyss, my body falling and joining my mother. To be or not to be, that is the question. Mom, are you here? Can you hear me? Can I forget Daddy, or should I hold on to this rage for eternity? Whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against the sea of troubles and by opposing end them. What would happen to my soul if I took my own life? I can't be with you again, Mom. In Shakespeare's great tragedy, this is where Hamlet, in his righteous rage, fought till the ending and died. But I don't want to end that way. I must release this rage robbing me like a thief through depression and apathy. I can't get close to anyone. I poured my pain out of my head and heart onto the pages of my journal. During my sleepless nights, I went to shamans and healers and therapy. 2-year master's degree in spiritual psychology, started writing my story, and something happened. Something opened. I felt something good. God moving in and through everything, even this, my story. And from this place of expansiveness, I realized I needed closure. Despite the fact that my father wouldn't tell me what happened, the truth is nothing he could have told me would have brought my mother back. And she is in my heart. She's in my soul. She lives on through me. I'm not alone. Methinks I see my mother in my mind's eye. I recalled a memory from when I was 5. Good night, sweet princess. I love you to eensy beensy teensy weensy little pieces. Remember this above all else, to thine own self be true. I surrendered to the wisdom my mother left to me through my love of Shakespeare, and I got his words as truth. There is nothing either good or bad, but think makes it so. Something I thought broke me was no longer bad because it truly broke open. I knew what I had to do. I had to let go of my judgment of my father. It was me to him. I was guided to do a ceremony. I took his hat and went to the top of a mountain. And this came through. Dad, I forgive myself for judging you as cold-hearted and abandoning me, because when I judge you, I shut my heart down and abandon myself. When I hate a part of you, I hate a part of me, and I am unwilling to do that to myself anymore. Right here and right now, I choose to open my heart again and embrace that beautiful part of you, the essence of who you are that lives in me, as me, every day. I threw his hat over the mountainside, watching as it disappeared from my sight, and with my next breath, a heaviness lifted off of me, and I realized I was no longer my great defender or my mother's protector. I was no longer like Hamlet in his righteous unforgiveness and tragic demise. I was just me, Brenda. Yes, Brenda, the red hot contender, a contender for life and love. Mom, Dad, I love you. I forgive you. And I set myself free. Thank you.
Music. Woohoo! Let's give a round of loving applause. Thank you, Brenda. Amazing, amazing. I felt like I knew each of the characters in your story. You channeled them so beautifully. Thank you for gracing us. Indeed, indeed.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much, Brenda. I'm sorry we were having trouble with the unmuting thing, but know that we're all clapping away. It was gorgeous. But that's the power of forgiveness right there. That's so beautiful. Thank you.
And you can also use the chat. If you're unable to unmute yourself, you can chat your accolades to Brenda in the chat room. Okay. So it's time for our next teller. It's the incredible Donna Call. She's been a volunteer with Freedom to Choose since the second workshop in 2004. She was a Freedom to Choose founding board member for 6 years, also a team captain for 7 years. She's married to the amazing Ted Bear and mother to the amazing Caitlin and Taylor, and their whole family are Freedom to Choose volunteers. She works in Santa Barbara, providing education and case management for folks returning to the community, returning citizens from jail and prison. And so let's give a warm and loving Freedom to Choose welcome to Donna Call.
Hi, everybody. What an honor to be part of this. I thank everybody for showing up. I want to give a special thank you to my dear friend, Rick Wells, who is here tonight. I haven't seen him in many years, and it's so awesome that Rick is here in support. And it's great to share this work with him. So I'm going to out myself here. I still get very nervous talking in front of crowds, so I'm going to be reading my story. So about 15 or 16 years ago, I got involved with a volunteer group, which is now known as the Freedom to Choose Project. We started going into a women's prison in Central California, teaching the skills based on Viktor Frankl's theories in Man's Search for Meaning, basically that every liberty or freedom can be taken away from someone except their freedom to choose their attitude. Our first prison visit was both uplifting and devastating for me. It was amazing to sit in a group of 3, myself and 2 prison residents, and have the rest of the world melt away and simply be 3 women sharing, working on their issues together in a deep and profound way. The devastating part for me was that almost every woman I sat with was a mother. Our original workshops were attended by members of the long-termers organization. These were women with very long and possibly life sentences. As a mother, I could not wrap my brain around the concept of mothers and children being separated for life. One of the first women I sat with was a young girl, 22 years old, with 3 babies on the outside, who was just beginning a life sentence. She looked hollow and empty and was barely present. My inner dialogue at that point was anything but neutral. I was reeling inside. What kind of system keeps mothers from their children for life? How is this helping society? How on earth could this be a good thing? During those first 5 or 6 workshops, I would go back to my hotel room and fume and cry. When I got home, I would be depressed for days, feeling angry, sad, helpless about something so wrong that I could not change. But then something different started to happen. As I kept going back, participating in almost every workshop, I began to notice something different. I heard more than one woman say, "Thank God for this prison, it saved my life." I began to notice that there were some women who were somehow creating a good life within the walls of the prison. They were being supportive of each other. They had created family units. They had groups and clubs and dance troupes, quilting circles, religion and spirituality. Women were completing college degrees and earning certificates in trades like welding. They were becoming drug and alcohol counselors and helping other women who were struggling. So basically, these women were already exercising their freedom to choose a more satisfying and fulfilling experience, even in a maximum security prison. What? We came to prison to teach others, but these women became my greatest teachers. Perhaps it was me that needed a freedom to choose workshop. Sometime later, we did our first workshop in a men's prison. We had no idea what to expect. Would it be vastly different? Not even close. The men at this particular prison blew us away. In so many ways, they were way ahead of me in this process of self-discovery and the ability to find kindness, compassion, equanimity, and purpose in extreme circumstances. These men have also become some of my greatest teachers. About 6 or 7 years ago, I had one of those God shot experiences. You know, when the universe kind of gives you a little wake up smack just to remind you what's what. I was standing in front of my refrigerator, trying to figure out what to have for lunch. You know what I mean, standing, staring. And on this particular day, I had a big conflict that was actually causing me a good deal of stress. You see, there was pizza left over from company the night before. And then there was all this organic, healthy, green stuff. I really wanted the pizza, but my inner dialogue was shooting all over me. You should have the healthy, organic, green stuff. You should not have the pizza, especially since you just had it last night. But the pizza will go to waste if I don't eat it. You just had the pizza last night, and on and on. Seriously, unable to make a decision, I gave up. I went downstairs to get my mail. And as the universe does, there was a letter from a young woman I was corresponding with at the women's prison. I opened it immediately. She always wrote very long, lovely letters full of her recent accomplishments and successes. Choreographed a dance number, organized a fundraiser, completed umpteen more certificates since I last saw you, and on and on and on. I started thinking about my lunch dilemma and about what it would mean to this young woman and to each and every person in prison to be able to stand in front of a well-stocked refrigerator and have the freedom to choose what they would like for every meal. And what other amazing graces had I been overlooking in my life? In that moment, I felt very foolish and very silly for the stress I'd created for myself over a lunch decision. So I went back upstairs and my choice was now clear and stress-free. With gratitude for my freedom to choose, I had the pizza and I enjoyed every bite. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. I wish we could all clap for you. That was lovely, really beautiful. So appreciated. Let's just all take a deep breath. Two great storytellers. Thank you both, Brenda and Donna. And now we're going to, I love that Amanda Sherlock says pizza wins every time. Ain't that true? Now we're going to move to Benito Gutierrez. Benny and I met, I think Benny said it was 2016. He first went to Freedom to Choose workshop, our very first workshop at Valley State Prison for Men. And then Benny got really involved in the program. So he would go to the workshops that we would do twice a year, but he also participated in our weekly support groups. And that's where I really got to know him. So it's been a pleasure really developing our friendship now that he's outside in the free world. He's been out for about 2 years and he's doing all types of great things in the world. He's in upper division courses at Chico State. So he's finishing up his bachelor's degree. He's very active on campus and quite a few organizations. He has published articles and multiple articles. He is a co-curator of a museum up in Chico. So the guy is very, very busy, and it's such a pleasure that he's so active with the Freedom to Choose community. He's helped us out with a lot of different things, and we're really grateful to have him as part of our community. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Benito.
Hello, everyone. Donna, that was amazing. Donna K. Okay, so I'm going to talk about my freedom to choose moment. So I knew early on that there was a huge difference between physical and mental freedom. I was a quiet kid, a dreamer, with one hell of an imagination. Having gone to juvenile hall for the first time at age 10, then making it a habit from age 12 until very recently, I learned early on that freedom was a state of mind. I remember being 13, 14 years old, pacing my cell in juvenile hall, almost in a trance, imagining that I was walking through my neighborhood. Now I'm taking a right down 9th Street. Now I'm passing ABC Market. I would do this for hours. And in that way, I realized that they could take away my freedom to move in a physical space, but in my mind, I could go anywhere in the world. And still, I remained in a prison of my own design. I accepted the notion that this was the life for me, that I was destined for a life of crime and prison. That despite the praise that I received from my elementary school teachers and how much potential everyone said I had, I sought and found comfort in the gang lifestyle. It's not that I didn't believe what the adults were saying in my life. I knew I was a smart one, and I wanted to be a good boy. I actually wanted to grow up to become a city planner and design community spaces. But that didn't seem to match up with what was going on in my life at the time. I was far too used to disappointment by that age. As I got older, the scenery changed, but my tactics did not. I remember walking in circles in the yard at Pelican Bay Shoe, a very small concrete enclosure with high walls topped with barbed wire. Round and round, just like my days in juvenile hall. Only now my geography had expanded. I would visit all kinds of fantastic places in my mind. I'd tour the barricades of 19th century Paris, or climb the steps of ancient Mayan temples. Or I'd dream about the future and imagine how things were going to be next time. All of this to keep my mind off the sad reality that I was walking circles in a concrete box. I must have made the cop in the tower so dizzy with my daily excursions. Now I see that this turning inward that I was doing, it was just a defense mechanism. The way I dealt with the trauma around me, necessary perhaps in certain situations. People are often told not to spend too much time thinking about their problems, to look on the brighter side. But still, there's this implication that what I was doing was actually giving my trauma power over me, that it was something ominous to be ignored, feared, justified, swept under the rug. But it wasn't until I learned to face my trauma and to sit with uncomfortable feelings, skills that I discovered and developed in Freedom to Choose, that I realized my teachers were right. I do have potential. I may not live up to it every moment of the day, and sometimes I still make some pretty dumb mistakes. But the difference today is that I don't turn a blind eye to my problems by imagining a more favorable situation. I remain in the moment, as uncomfortable as things may be, and I allow these sensations to wash over me. Because what this does is actually provide me with the opportunity to decide upon the right course of action. It gives me the freedom to choose. And today, almost 2 years after leaving prison, I'm freer than I've ever been in my entire life. I no longer have to use my imagination as a defense mechanism. Today, it is the source of my creativity. Unless, of course, my girlfriend starts talking about Pinterest or the Vampire Diaries, then you might find me walking circles in the backyard. Thank you.
Oh, that was so wonderful. Thank you. I love Pinterest. What are you talking about? I kind of glazed over look, right? That was awesome. Thank you so much, Benny. Beautiful. So before we get going on the next speaker, Michael is gonna do a little commercial break for us.
Absolutely. I'm just inspired and uplifted by our tellers, reminding us of the why of Freedom to Choose. People often ask, like, why do you do this work? And it's hard to put it into words. It's an experience, of loving, an experience of making a difference in the lives of others. And those seeds of freedom that we plant for others are really, plants that we harvest ourselves. Like, we get way more than, we bring. That's been my experience. I don't know, what my impact is on others unless they tell me, but I know what this impact has been for me. So we have just entered a very unusual time. And while we thought this might be an impediment, it turns out that there's been some unexpected benefits. One, as Karen mentioned, is that we now have our materials in 36 of the 39 California prisons. We have other states requesting our materials. There's recent changes happening in the juvenile justice system that, as a board member, I'm very passionate about helping us to get into the prison pipeline and interrupt that flow. And I believe from my own experience that this work has the power to do that. But it takes all of us working together, to make that happen, to shift paradigms. So this is a call for support, that each one of us here take ownership of the Freedom to Choose mission, because it's each one of us that, you know, has an individual impact on lives. Who knew that, you know, we would be in the room with Benny, you know, tonight, you know, having, you know, met him, you know, some years ago under completely different circumstances, you know, and to see the joy, you know, and the light that's taking place in his life and in my life. Because Freedom to Choose has enriched my life. That's our story. And so the seeds that we're planting are seeds of enrichment for ourselves and for others. And so just an invitation, the link will be posted in the chat. You know, like they say, give early, give often, you know, dig deep. We certainly appreciate your support, and we're excited about the corner that we're turning, because there's a huge shift taking place right now, and our work is having an impact. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Thank you, Michael.
Oh, so anything you want to add to that? Did I miss anything?
Yeah, I think you covered it. We'll talk about a couple of different ways people can get involved in the holiday season toward the end. But yeah, I think you covered it. And like Michael said, the links in the chat. If any of you feel like you would like to donate, we surely would appreciate it.
And no donation is too small.
That's right. That's right. It all makes a difference.
Yes. And Alana's asking, will the auction still happen?
Yes.
Yes.
The auction's going to go live. I think it's going to go live tomorrow. And we'll send an email about it, Alana.
Awesome. Yeah, I did donate a coaching package, one for wellness and spirituality. And I am also going to donate a package for cyber safe coaching for people who have issues around cybersecurity, computer issues, technical issues. You can get a world-class consultant that's all yours. You just call me up, and whatever your technical problem is, we'll get it fixed. So I'm donating that on behalf of Freedom to Choose.
Great. Thank you.
Cool. All right. So I want to thank our previous tellers. Benny, thank you. And Brenda, Donna, for setting the tone of tonight's event. And our next teller is from the sunny town of Chicago, Illinois, the South Side. I met Michael many years ago through the National Storytellers Network, and I have to say he's been kind of a mentor for me in the world of storytelling. Inspired me to go to Jonesboro to the National Storytelling Festival one year. He is also, he became a professional teller in 1992. He tells story, teaches art around the country and the world ever since. He offers storytelling programs at VSP, and often when we're there with our weekend events, we just look over in the little room by the bathroom over there, and Michael's in there with his team, you know, doing his storytelling class, you know. So I love this brother. This is Michael McCarty. Let's give him a warm
Hey!
applause.
All right. How y'all doing?
Great.
Michael D. McCarty, storyteller extraordinaire. And the story I'm going to share with you this evening is something I call Seize the Chalk. And it goes like this. I've been giving my workshop in the prison since 2014 in a dozen of the California state prisons. And one of the things that I talk about in the class is something that I call Seize the Chalk. And it starts out like this. Some of you may have seen the movie Hidden Figures about the Black women who were involved in the space program. And one of those women, Katherine Johnson, when she was a math genius at a very young age, she was, I think, 6th grade, and they wanted to put her in 8th grade, so they moved her to a school in the South where they would accept Black kids in the 8th grade. So here's this little girl with all these 8th graders, and she looks like she should be in kindergarten. The professor, the teacher of the class, he comes over to her. There's a quadratic equation on the board. He comes over to Catherine with a piece of chalk and says, Catherine, why don't you show the class how to solve this equation? And she's this little thing, feet don't even touch the floor. She pushes her glasses up, goes up and knocks it out and turns around and explains what she's done. And the other students and the teacher our teachers are like, what? She was just brilliant. Fast forward, she's in the space program. There's all these things and obstacles she's had to overcome, but she's smart. She's bogarted her way into this big honcho meeting. And again, she's got the answer. And her boss, played by Kevin Costner, says, Catherine, and he offers her the piece of chalk. Why don't you show us what you've discovered? And she goes up and lays it out and lays them down. And I talk about those opportunities that we have to seize the chalk. So in one of my classes, this was the story that was prompted from this incident. My guy was telling me he's in prison for 35 to life for a nonviolent, victimless crime. He had a public defender who, as they call him in the prison, public pretender. So they just came from court and the public defender sucked to high heaven. My guy is telling him about himself. And finally, the public defender seems to be apathetic. He says, look, man, I don't need you anymore. You're fired. The public defender starts laughing. He says, you can't fire me. You didn't hire me. I was appointed. I'll see you in court. Well, this brother, who I was told did not have a 6th grade education, went to the law library and researched his butt off. And one, he fired the public defender. But that was just a warm-up. He took on his own case. He became his own defender in court. His wife thought he had lost his blinkety-blanket mind. She said, I'm not coming to the court. You're just going to be embarrassed. They're going to rake you over the coals. And his first day in court seemed like she knew what she was talking about, because everything he could do wrong, he did wrong. He's cussing at the prosecutor. He calls the judge a racist. He's scowling at the jury. And the judge had the presence of mind to say, you know, we're going to take a break because you've lost your mind. I'm going to give you a minute to compose yourself. During that break, he realized a couple of things. One, he had lost his mind and he needed to correct that. And then he started going through all his paperwork. While he was going through his paperwork, he noticed something. He noticed that the prosecutor had been keeping some information from the judge. So when he goes back to court, first thing he does, he stands up and says, Your Honor, I'm really sorry about my behavior. I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity. And he apologized to the judge. He apologized to the prosecutor. He apologized to the jury. And then he turns to the judge and says, by the way, Your Honor, it seems that the prosecutor has left some information from you. And the judge's like, what? Well, that got the judge's attention. The court went on for about a year and he got his sentence thrown out. So he goes from this life, 35 to life, to he's going to be getting out. This just happened last year. He's going to be getting out. Now, if you take the GED and pass the 4 tests, that will reduce your sentence. This was around November. He was scheduled to get out in maybe February or March. If he passed the GED, he might get out earlier. So he takes the first 3 parts, aces them. The last test is the math test. And he is scared. I'm talking scared. In fact, he says, I'm going to tell him I can't take it now. I'll take it next year. He would take it in January instead of taking it in November, December, which means he can't get out until that February. So, but he says, I can't do it. I can't do it. Now, one of the handouts I had given in my class was a passage with a quote from Michael Jordan, where he says, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take.
Mm-hmm.
That morning that he was going to tell them that he was going to take the test later, that handout I'd given him was on his desk or wherever he kept it. He saw it that morning and said, I'm going to take it. And he took it. And he kicked math booty, okay? He knocked it out of the park, and he got out in December of last year. He seized the heck out of that chalk and found his way to his freedom. And that's the end of that.
Thank you. That's beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Seize the chalk.
Yep.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much, Michael. It's so great to see you in action from seeing you at the prison so often. What a great story. Thank you. So now we have the honor and the privilege to hear from our beloved Angela Bell. And Angela is one of our very first volunteers. She started with Freedom to Choose back 16 years ago. She's one of our founding board members, and she continues to play such an active role in our organization and our mission. In fact, I think she and Holly Cook stuffed about 1,000 letters in the last 48 hours for us. So she continues to be very active. So we're so grateful to have her here with us. A rumor has it she has a very significant birthday coming up. I think she's going to turn 35. So we want to wish her a happy birthday, really happy birthday. We're so grateful we get to celebrate with you a little early. So with that, Angela, I just want to add that, you know, she's so loved at all of our prison projects. She serves as such a great role for so many of the folks that we work with inside the prisons. I think there's a lot of folks that have adopted her as their honorary grandmother or mother. So she really plays an important role in a lot of people's lives. So with that, Angela, why don't you take it away?
Awesome.
Okay. So I'm just going to start with a little short story about what a maverick I am. Okay. So all of my life, I have pioneered whatever I've done. So this is in World War II. I was 14 years old, and I adopted a ward in St. Albans Hospital for injured soldiers and sailors. And I would go there every weekend. So one of the fellows, he was a soldier, was going to have his leg amputated. And he said he would give anything for a beer. So I went out and I got him a container of beer with a bouquet of flowers, and I put the flowers all around the bouquet, and I smuggled in a bouquet of flowers, but in the flowers was a container of beer. And I was so nervous. I thought I was going to be arrested, that they were going to get me, you know, but I gave him his container of beer. Now, I just want you to know that I really thought nothing about doing this. This was what I always did, that kind of thing. I have always pioneered. I have always done what everybody said I couldn't do. So, and I just really never thought about that. That was just me. It was just who I was. So in 2004, Bonnie and David said that they were going to be doing a workshop in prison for a group of lifers. And my hand went up. Can I go? Can I go? I volunteered. I walked into a Valley State Prison for women. And my first trio was the head honcho of the yard. She had her little group that she controlled, and she was called the devil, really, of the yard. And I sat down with her and another woman, and I looked in her eyes, and she had beautiful green eyes, beautiful. And the other woman had brown eyes. And I said, well, the green eyes have it, the brown eyes have it, the blue eyes have it, the eyes have it. And we started out like that. And we had so much fun. And this started a lifelong friendship with this woman, Green Eyes. Every time I went to the woman's prison and she came to a workshop, she would go, hello, 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 and we would dance. We would dance. And it was a joyful occasion, just a really joyful occasion. And she remained my good friend to this day. Whenever I went to the woman's prison, she always came up and whispered in my ear, you changed my life. Now, fast forward, I go to the men's prison. And I just would like to share with you what I experienced in a trio. When I sit in a trio with two other inmates and someone is sitting across from me, I only focus on their goodness. That's all that I see is their goodness. And when I'm seeing their goodness, more and more of my goodness comes up. Something happens when I focus on someone's goodness, or I would say I focus on their godness, that little spark in them that comes with the breath of God, the breath of life. Something happens to them. Something awakens in them because they have never been witnessed before. The true self of them have never been witnessed before. And my only job in the prison is to witness that, to witness the life in them, the goodness in them. And from that, I have been going to the prison since 2004. So maybe for 15 years, 14 or 15 years. And I don't think I've missed 1 year except this year. I'm gonna be 90 in January. I still wanna do one more. I wanna do a new prison. I want to do one that would never with the young people, you know, because I'm okay being everybody's grandma now. Or lots of times I'm a mother, somebody who did not have a good mother. I just come forward and be their mother. one little story. I was in a trio with a young man. He was like dead inside, just dead inside. And I went off our handout, and he wasn't participating. So I just asked him, tell me a little bit about yourself. And he told me he had been in 27 foster homes. And I immediately had this tremendous compassion and love for him, because I couldn't fathom what it was like not to have a family, not to have a mother and a father and a family that you were just pushed aside from one place to another. So I don't know why, but something in me came up and said, I'll be your grandma. And he said, you would? And he came alive. Because I don't think he ever had a grandma. And something in me also happens. It isn't only that I can do something for somebody in a trio. These people, these wonderful people, do something for me. When I sit in a trio and share, they listen. They have compassion for me. One of them helped me with my relationship with my son. They gave me a wonderful key that I used, and it worked. It really worked. So I grow, my love deepens, and it deepens, and it deepens. And I am a better woman today because I have gone to prison and served in the prison. And I am very, very grateful for that. I am very grateful for that. And I'm very humbled to be a part of this wonderful group. The people, the volunteers from prison, I live in Santa Barbara and I live alone. And some of them, there's like Donna and her husband come and I'm on a walker. They walk me so I can go for a walk. So the people that come to the prison and as volunteers are heartfelt. Something happens in that room. When we walk in, there is an envelope of love. And I don't care what religion you are, but I call it, it's like Christ walked in. The degree of love. Everyone brings their love. And what can be more healing than love? When my love deepens, I cry. And over the years, I have become such a better woman, a more loving woman, a more compassionate woman. When we first went to the men's prison, because it had, where we went was a protected area where the homosexuals, pedophiles, people that would be in danger in the other part of the prison. And I didn't know how I was ever gonna respond to someone who was molested a child. Like, I had serious doubts about myself. But guess what? I found I had no judgment. I found I had even more compassion because almost everyone that shared a story with me was terribly abused as a child, terribly abused. So my compassion and my love for healing went out to them. Yes, prison changed my life. It did. It changed my life for the better. I have friends that I have sat in trios with in prison that are out now, women that are friends of mine that call me, that I email to, wonderful women that are accomplishing things. So yes, I will, when COVID is over, I will still go to prison.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Angela. We're so happy to have you with us and as part of our community. And thank you for all your years of service and the difference that you've made in so many lives. And happy birthday, beautiful. Happy birthday.
I think we're going to do a Zoom.
Oh, good.
A Zoom birthday. And I think it was Jeff that said he's going to come in a tuxedo.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Angela. Thank you. Okay, so we have one more storyteller tonight, and that's our wonderful Michael Lattimore. Like Michael had said early on, I have the privilege of being his prison wife. So we co-facilitate workshops inside the prison. So it's just been such an honor to get to know you better, Michael, and all of the beautiful things that you're up to now that you've quote unquote retired. I think Michael retired about a year or so ago, and he's busier than he's ever been. He mentioned about the cyber security, the consulting that he does. He also does a lot of spiritual coaching and life coaching. So yeah, it's just great to be your partner. So you want to kick us off with the final story?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I am just honored to be here tonight, and I've gotten so many additional pieces of the puzzle and perspectives on my story, my freedom to choose story. One thing that came forward for me as Angela was sharing is that as we volunteer, we are volunteering to be in each other's lives and to be in the lives of our trio partners that we meet. We're volunteering not only to do this work, but also to be in each other's lives. And the impact that has made on me is just immeasurable. To have each one of you, unusual people who love going into prison, that makes us kind of weird, you want to go into prison? Why, right? But I'm realizing it's because, we are planting these seeds of freedom that will generate plants that we get to harvest for ourselves and for others. And sometimes the harvest goes the other way because our participants who we think we're going in to serve, they plant a seed in our life that changes our life in ways that we never would have imagined. And so my story tonight is planting seeds of freedom. And it was the first workshop ever that I had attended. It was in the women's prison. And I, starting off, everybody had a job. And I think my job had something to do with outside or something, but it wasn't on. So I'm standing in the middle of the floor like a kid, first day at school, kindergarten, and then, the itty bitty committee started, right? You're in prison, man. Why did you come in prison? What if a riot happens? You could get shanked, just all this stuff going on in my head, right? And then beautiful Marlene, who is home now, she came up to me. She saw me standing there looking all scared. And she said, "It's your first time here?" And I was like, "Yeah." She said, "Don't worry, ain't nothing gonna happen." Like she could read me like a book, you know? But that weekend was so phenomenal. So the first trio, you know, we meet in threes, and we are so close to each other, like literally, you know, we can hear what's going on in the trio next to us if they're loud. And in the next trio next to me, there was a woman who was loud, and she had a high degree of pissosity, right? A lot of judgment. She was like, you know, these bees are fake, you know, they faking and shaking. And these people, I don't know if they missionaries, they trying to get something, you know. And she was just like hating on freedom to choose, right? It was her first time too, you know. So it was a real exercise for me in non-judgment and, you know, compassionate acceptance, right? So this went on through the whole deal. So then after we finish our trio rounds, we rotate, and then we do what's called the trio shuffle, where the volunteers stay in the sheriff's chair, and then all of the participants get up and go find other trios. And lo and behold, Miss Loudness, who is right next to me, gets up and walks like 3 feet over and sits down in my trio, right? And she was my facilitator. And, you know, immediately I'm thinking, okay, what did I do to deserve this? Now, I don't know how to handle, you know, I don't know what I'm going to say, you know, or how I'm going to work through this. But, you know, I just went into prayer with it. It's like, I know Spirit knows how to handle it and what's going to happen. So the issue that I was working with was that, you know, I had this 13-year-old daughter, right? So that was like 2009, so 11. So yeah, I had a teenage daughter. She had her own room upstairs, and her room was like her own personal disaster area, right? This nuclear bomb went off in there, you know, plates, you know, and I'm whining about the plates with the moldy food, and, you know, and glasses under the bed and clothes everywhere. And, you know, and so I'm really just like complaining about, you know, how do I, you know, handle this situation? And truth be told, you know, it was a point of contention with me and my daughter. It really, it was impacting our relationship, because, you know, the truth was that, like, I didn't know how to handle this, you know, and I thought something that wasn't true. So anyway, what happened was that my trio partner at the end, you know, we get feedback, and she started to read me the riot act. You know, she was like, look, your daughter does not want, you know, wants you to be the, you know, the sheriff of the house, you know, standing over her and telling her what she needs to be doing. You need to stay out of her Kool-Aid and just love her. You know, that's what she wants from you. She wants you to love her as her father, no matter what, dirty room and all, you know? And I mean, she really gave it to me like straight. She was not like holding back, you know, she did it in a loud, very effective way. And as she started to tell me these things, you know, like there was a shift inside of me, you know, and I realized that, you know, like my behavior was because I didn't know. I didn't know how to be a father to a teenage daughter, you know, there was no book on it. And I was doing the best that I could. And so I had to give myself compassion and self-forgiveness, you know, and then I started to prize her. I started giving her acknowledgement, you know, and I told her, I said, look, you don't know me, but you took, you know, like, I know you've got a big heart because you took a chance in telling me the truth. You don't know how I was going to accept that, but, you know, you came from a very courageous place in your heart. So I could tell that, you know, you're a caring person, and you told me the truth. And this truth is going to change my relationship with my daughter, you know, because I've had a shift inside of me, and I made up my mind, you know, what I'm going to do, how I'm going to be different from what you've told me, you know. And I just started to acknowledge her, and she popped. You know, they say popcorn doesn't all pop at the same time, you know, but she popped at that moment, and like her heart just opened, and all of that harshness, that hardness, that that anger that she had, like it just melted away, you know? And I could tell when I was giving her the feedback that she was in a place of just like incredulousness, like she could not believe that I was giving her positive feedback, you know, on what she had said to me and the way that she said it, you know? And so this bond happened, between us that day. And I realized that she had planted a seed for me, and I had planted a seed for her. And back in those days, like we could hug. So at the end of our trio, they said, thank your partners in whatever way is appropriate. And she asked me, could I give you a hug? And I was like, yeah, sure. So we hugged, and she held me. She looked at me. She said, I have never been hugged by a man. She said, I got three kids, and I have never been hugged by a man, and that helped me understand her a lot better, because that day, each of us had an experience that we had not, had before, right? So what happened was, like, after the weekend, I drove home, and I was at such a clear intention. And I get home, and typically when I get off the weekends, I sit down and talk with the family, about the experience. And so my daughter was upstairs in her room, and I just yelled up stairs, and then I started coming up the stairs, right? So when I opened up the room it had 2 nuclear explosions over the weekend, right? And I just ignored it. I just accepted it as, it is what it is. That's all it is. And I'm going to just sit up here and love on my daughter. And she was waiting for me to say something. Like, the tension was so thick. Like, she was just waiting for me to say, like, dang, this is worse than it was last week, And I didn't say a word. I just asked her, how you doing? And I, shared with her a little bit about, the weekend. And I said, well, I just came up because I missed you, and I love you. And I went back downstairs. And like, you could feel like, the energy was like, a rat walking on cotton. It was like, there was this incredible silence, this spaciousness, of loving, and would you believe that my daughter actually cleaned up her room? It was like, she cleaned up her room, and I didn't have to say anything, but she wanted that room to be clean, after knowing that I loved her, dirty room and all, So that seed of freedom, it continues to reveal plants, harvest in our life today. It's brought us together in a very real way. It's taught me a lot about acceptance. And it's really magnified this teaching that one of my early teachers said to me at USM. Well, she said it to everybody, but I felt like she was saying it to me, which was, allow people the dignity of their process, And the freedom to choose experience has been just that, There are so many stories that I have in my heart over the past, I guess it's been 12 years now of going in. And the most powerful ones have been about the seeds of freedom that have been planted in my life and that I've been able to plant in the lives of others. And so I'm really looking forward to going back inside. And I am so grateful for all of you and all of us for volunteering to be in each other's lives. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael. Much appreciated. For
Mhm.
sure. So we want to thank all of the storytellers tonight. It was so beautiful. So we'll have a chance to unmute everybody and give everybody a big round of applause. So just a couple of different ways that you can get involved with Freedom to Choose. We have my dog's getting involved with Freedom to Choose right here, if you hear scratching. We have the campaign going on right now. We have a couple of different things happening with that. We have an online auction that's going to go live over the weekend. There's lots of really cool stuff on it. But Benito has, I think, 5 of his artists have donated work to the campaign. We have other folks in our community that have donated original art. We have folks that have donated their services, whether they're coaching services, spiritual counseling. We have somebody that donated a weekend away at one of their places. I think they're in the Santa Ynez Valley. So there's all types of cool stuff, and you'll get an email with a link where you can go on to the Better World site and take a look at all of the items that are on the Freedom to Choose auction. So there's that happening. There's also a holiday gathering that we're having next week, going to be on December 17th. And we're saying just because we need to do social distancing doesn't mean that we have to be distant socially. So it's a chance for us all to come together as a community. It should be a really fun evening. We've got some entertainment planned. And I believe that's on the 17th. And our year-end campaign goes through the end of the year. So if you're inclined to donate, we would love that. The link is in the chat there. And I think Stephanie's also posted the different events that we have coming up. So once again, we want to thank everybody for attending. I think we're all off mute. So why don't we give everybody a big round of applause. Great. Oh, it's awesome.
Great,
I love
Michael.
this.
Great story,
Great
Michael.
job, everybody.
Great story, Donna.
And so we plan on doing this every couple of months. So like I said earlier, we're shooting for early February. So on our website, you can sign up if you want to share a story. Most of you also know that we're doing online trio events 2 times a month now. So our next one is, I think it's sometime in the first week of January. So that's an opportunity to come together as a community and practice our freedom to choose skills. And one of the things that I found is so cool about it is that, I don't get an opportunity to actually sit in trio with a lot of my volunteer friends, right? So it's so awesome because typically when we're in the prison, we're sitting with incarcerated folks. So it's really cool to actually be able to trio with folks that I've been volunteering with for so many years. So we really invite you all to join us with that. So, Michael, you got anything else to say?
No, I'm on full. I mean, with all the stories and just the love that's in the space, I am just on full. My heart is just flowing. Yeah. There's an energy that happens when we come together. There's just something in the room, and I'm celebrating that.
Yeah. Bonnie and David, do you have any closing words before we do our closing blessing?
I just want to say that I was riveted listening to the stories, and I'm so grateful to everybody who came tonight who made this such a magnificent first Story Slam. I can't wait to see what comes next.
And I just appreciate the writing that came through every story. Just
beautiful.
As Michael said, it was so beautiful to see these different faces of the experience that we have all co-created together with Freedom to Choose. And some of my very best friends I have met because they're willing to come and be in prison with me.
That's serious friendship.
That's right. Absolutely.
Oh, there's my baby. Oh,
wow.
Wonderful. Okay,
hi, Mary.
so Michael's gonna do a closing blessing for us all.
So family, let's just join together in one accord, closing your eyelids if you're comfortable. And together we just draw in a deep centering breath. Breathing in love and breathing out peace. Once more, we breathe in this breath of love. We breathe out peace, knowing that this breath comes easily and effortlessly. It is the givingness of the beloved to its beloveds. And so we just celebrate the fact that each one of us is a place where the Spirit gives to the world through each one of us. And as we just celebrate this magnificent light that has created each one of us out of itself, We send this light forward to all of the participants at all of the prisons that we serve, and even those who are yet to come. We send this light backwards to our mothers and to her mother, and to the mother of our mother's mother, 1,000 generations back. We send this light to our father and his father, and to the father of our father's father, 1,000 generations back, to our descendants, both born and unborn, and to those who are yet on their way. And we just celebrate this gratitude, this amazing light of love that has brought us here, that has created each one of us out of that one. And we are so grateful as we just send those blessings of gratitude forward to the entire human family. And so we just bless it, we name it good, we celebrate our gratitude and love for one another. And so it is.
So it is.
So Brenda, let's give a hand to Brenda. Thank you so much, Brenda. Beautiful story. Donna Call, Benito,
Hey,
Michael McCarty,
Michael.
Angela,
Angela.
and our beautiful Michael Lattimore. Thank you all so much for sharing your creative expression, and just, this has been, I know tonight's the first night of our official lockdown again here in California, and you made my Friday night a beautiful night. So thank you so much.
You're here.
So good to see all of you.
Looking forward to
Okay, thank you. We hope to see you next week at our holiday gathering.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Michael, let's talk